So I apologize that I will speak in English, because if I were to speak in Hebrew, I couldn't be within my 12-minute limit, since I'm not used to speaking about these topics in Hebrew. I want to talk about really a different topic, and are there lessons to be learned? NDS has been established in 1988, and really to look into applications of encryption. And then PayTV became a target for piracy and hackers, one of the earliest targets, and really converted to that. And today, NDS provides the security systems for PayTV operators worldwide, protecting over $50 billion of PayTV revenues, as well as a host of enabling technologies. The critical security technology comes from Israel, and we do have about 1,400 people in Israel, most of them in Jerusalem. We work with PayTV operators worldwide, and I think that what is relevant to this conference is that PayTV was one of the early intellectual challenges for hackers. The first hacker that broke the sky signals was actually a graduate student that wanted to see Star Wars, and he couldn't see it, so he broke the system. But very quickly, people that figured out they can make money out of it embraced these techniques and embraced these people. And in the early 90s, this was a scourge of the industry, because it threatened what was a very early industry, and it threatened its complete existence. And really there is the distinction between the people that are really intellectual, capable, and by the way, out-of-the-box thinkers. Most of them haven't had any formal studies or whatever, and they're the hackers, and they do it. They start perhaps by doing it for fun, but then the people that figure out that they can capitalize on it and make money are the ones that we call pirates. Now, of course, the arrival of the internet and the ability for them to communicate, share techniques, and has internationalized that hacker business, and has attracted the best and the brightest at that time into this industry. When I joined in 95, I came from a technological background, but I immediately saw that yes, we can improve the technology, but that will not be enough, because we're really dealing with a more complex issue. And I was very interested, of course, in the presentation by Michel Glenny that talked about the philosophy of General Sun Tzu, which is know thy enemy, your opponent, and learn from him. I was fortunate in the early days to recruit Reuven Chazak as the head of operational security, who had expertise in intelligence. And together we developed really a three-pronged approach, which I think is, first of all, it helped us really eradicate piracy in our industry. But I think that approach, and as I was sitting and listening here today to the lectures and having looked into the cybersecurity for the last few months, I think that approach is really applicable. And there are really 3 points to that approach. First of all, obviously, you need to have the best possible technology that is affordable. I mean, obviously you can build something that is Fort Knox, but not many people can afford it. So it's affordable, but it has to be constantly updated, because the threat is constantly changing. So, we had to go to custom design chips with secure features, but one of the interesting things, this is all kind of interrelated, was to get to know the hackers and how they think, and co-opt some of them to teach our engineers of how to design systems that cannot be hacked. Because to be frank, a PhD does not think the way these people think. They basically are self-taught, autodidacts, and they think completely nonlinear and in ways that an engineer would not think. And just to give an example, let me put a 50-volt pulse to a chip that's supposed to get only 3 volts and see what happens. Engineer doesn't do that. He knows this is a 3-volt chip. So they challenge not the traditional way, and we had to learn from them, and had them train our designers to use these methods. We also established a team, which we call the Black Hat team, in a separate location. In that case, it was in Haifa, that tested our own systems and using hacker methods and so on. And that's, again, another, why weren't they located in the same place? Because obviously people talk to each other and so on, and they can be more easily co-opted. So I think that was constantly evaluate yourself the way your opponent would evaluate it was another thing. As I said, intelligence gathering and constant monitoring. And here, I think that the point is there are not that many people that have the intellectual capacity, the interest, and the capability to penetrate these systems. And really finding them is the key, rather than trying to build an ever higher wall that is used by, the millions of people that mimic them and so on. So it's finding the architects, finding the generals, and because there are not many of them, you can find them. Second is that they have usually big egos, and, if you shoot a perfect game of golf and nobody knows about it, it's not a real achievement. So they have their own networks. They like to achieve the recognition of their peers. Okay, it's not just the money; it's the recognition of their peers, and that's how you can find it. Although the way to find them is to follow the money trail. You have to infiltrate those networks. We established a unit that can speak native in 14 languages, and because obviously these hackers are international and they can immediately detect an imposter, and be part of them and understand what they're up to and what is the next threat and where is it coming from, and then know the techniques that they're using and feed them back in real time in order to combat that threat. And the final one is cooperation with law enforcement agencies. Cyber, piracy, PayTV piracy is not exactly, a crime that prosecuting it gets you to be the next attorney general or to be appointed to an important position. Finding a guy that killed 5 people will get that. So it's not a high priority crime. And nor are people educated in it. So we spend a lot of effort on education and training in preparing, on a silver platter, the case that these people can be prosecuted. So, kind of a lesson from these 3 things, which I'm going to come back to in terms of cybersecurity, is that there is no silver bullet or a particular product that will protect it. But it is a service that we, by the way we offer it to our customers, and we say, we will guarantee the security of your system, and we will do whatever it takes. We monitor, the attacks, we monitor the breaks, we find who does it, we bring them to we counter attacks. I think there was one of the speakers talked about the importance of counterattacks. We know that the best defense is offense. And that can be technical. It can also be by spreading disinformation on these hacker forums, in penetrating their networks, making them suspicious of each other. So I come back to the point that Michel Glenny was making, which is understanding who these people are, how they operate, how they think, how they will undergo social engineering to perhaps penetrate your own organization, and how perhaps people from inside your organization may become seduced by being part of it, is all absolutely critical to the overall ability to provide a solution to this issue. So, in our case, the result worked. I would say that, the traditional piracy in our systems has been eradicated completely. However, as technology does not stand still, there are constantly new threats. And today, the ubiquity of broadband is posing a new challenge because, you can kind of restream a signal and so on. And and hackers never try to look for the most difficult thing to penetrate. They always look for the weakest link to attack. So, we have shifted our focus to a lot more internet intelligence. And by the way, being able to identify these sites that obtain illegal programming in the first place and being able to shut them down. Identifying who these people are and talking to them, co-opting them. Now, you recognize that you're dealing with people that are not the most honest citizens and are criminals. And as when we had some issues in this, Reuven reminded me that if you sleep with dogs, you can get up with fleas sometimes. But that does not mean that you have the luxury of not really understanding that hacker community, trying to be part of it and co-opt it and use that effective intelligence. I think this three-pronged approach is really essential. Now, the legal framework is always lagging in being able to support proactive. So it's not only a priority question, but also the absolute legal framework. And by the way, the rapidly evolving technology and the populist view that content should be free, or I think somebody here pointed out that one man's hacker is another man's hero, depending on what they do. So I think if they hack into a Chinese government network to find information about Tibet activists, then that person will be hailed as a hero, having exposed something. The same technique can be used to steal money from a bank, and then he would be a villain. So I think we're fighting some of that as well. So, I don't have really a large lesson other than to say that there isn't, I think I've heard here a lot of the discussion, and a lot of it has focused indeed on technology, on monitoring, on erecting ever higher barriers, being able to look at all these logs and extract intelligence. All of that is absolutely, I think it's the kind of the ABCs or the necessary conditions for cybersecurity. But I do believe that to really make progress in this area, it has to be complemented by proactive intelligence gathering, by understanding who these people are, tracking them down. I think there was a very interesting example that Siberia talked about. We have numerous examples in which we found people through, the fact that they were trying to find a bride for their son or whatever. But you really have to find who, and the thing is that it's easier to find the 500 people or 1,000 people or even 10,000 people that are engaged in this and be part of it, understand their techniques, and in some cases co-opt them. And that has to be an integral part of the technology development, of the solutions, and of the service that is being protected. Because I think the key challenge is the thing that is in short supply is expertise. It's not tools. I mean, there are 300 different products, software systems, technologies that you can buy today. In every penetration test that we have done, the issue was not that they didn't have the right tools. The issue is that they did not implement them correctly, they did not monitor them correctly, and there is just not enough expertise. And the ability to somehow centralize that expertise and deploy it on a scale, on a worldwide basis, and you can do that remotely, obviously, I think is the big opportunity for Israel, because Israel has that expertise, has the cleverness, has the deep insight, and that can be, and you don't need to be everywhere to do that, because this is all done through the network. And it's really very pleasing to see that there's such huge interest in it. It now has to be translated into a business model, which is really a service that combines these three elements. So, thank you.